Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Jedi Eternal. This is episode 47. Oh my goodness. And this is not just any regular episode. No. This is our 1-year anniversary episode. This is awesome, big stuff, and we're so glad that you're listening. Today, I'm your co-host, Braxton Taylor, here with the illustrious co-host, Andrew, the best co-host anyone could ever find in a short notice, Bowen.
I was wondering where you're going with that.
I have been saving that for like 2 days.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that.
I was saving that for like 2 days. I woke up in a cold sweat, 3 o'clock in the morning, like, oh, I know what I have to say on the episode.
Woke up in a cold sweat. Oh, wow, you're a jerk.
Yeah, well, we Andrew and I, of course, have been lifetime friends. And we spend a lot of time with each other, especially when he's younger.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Mostly worse. And anyway, so we used to spend the night with each other a lot and hang out with each other and stuff like that. And because we were going to do the podcast yesterday on Friday. That didn't work out. Anyway, so we're doing the podcast and the live stream on one day within several hours with each other. That's going to be very fun. Anyway, so my point with that being is that I spent the night with him last night for the first time in probably like 5 years, maybe, or longer.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun. That was pretty interesting. We played some video games.
Yeah, it felt like old times. My wife and kid are in Florida, so the house was ours to control.
Yeah, we
do whatever we wanted.
We stayed up way too late last night.
It's like 4 a.m.
Now, like the funny part was though, like we even stopped playing video games at like 10 or 11, and the rest of the time was working on the podcast.
Yeah, we just been working on stuff for today, and we're still not done. We still have things we need to do. So we're kind of like, this is a special episode, but we kind of need to hurry.
Yeah. So we're gonna
because our live episode is only a couple hours from now. So
this is a mess. We did it to ourselves.
We did it to ourselves.
We tried to play video games instead of doing the podcast.
It's all Xbox's fault. So blame it on Xbox and Microsoft.
A horrible addiction. Anyway.
I do want to say, recently on the podcast, you have been complaining about your chair that you use because it squeaks.
Yes.
And I just want you to know that I placed the squeaking chair over here, and you took it.
No.
Yes, and you took it and you put it back over there, and so therefore you're still sitting. In that
I don't know who put it over here. It wasn't me.
It was you.
I have not moved this chair.
No one else here.
It was your wife. She's trying to sabotage this podcast.
Yeah. So, anyways, I just wanted to point that out, that you only have the squeaking chair because you put it there.
I don't believe it. Anyway, so let's move on because we're trying to actually hurry this time. But for real, guys and gals that are listening, sincerely, we want to thank you for a whole year of podcasting, and it has been fantastic time. We're going to talk about this more in our live stream, of course, and that's where our big discussions are going to be. But we just want to say thank you, though.
Right, in case you're not going to be a part of that live stream, or you have no intentions of ever watching it,
but you should.
You definitely should, because it's kind of is going to be a second part to what we're doing here.
Exactly.
It's all kind of tying in together today. It's all one big celebration. So you should definitely watch that as well. But if you don't, and you only listen to us, we do want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of this journey in the past year.
It's just when piano music would start coming in.
Yeah, we didn't know how this would turn out when we started. And here we are a year later, and we actually have people that have stuck with us the whole time. And
that
that's
alone is
a miracle
amazing.
in itself.
Yeah, I was going to say, that alone
that
is
anyone would choose to listen to us for a year is beyond my understanding.
I have no idea why. You guys are very patient.
Yes. But again, we are so thankful. We have a lot of big plans for 2021.
Absolutely.
Including hopefully a lot more video content is in the plans.
Yep.
We're going to have some ways that you can start to maybe help fund us if you choose to do so. It was our intention the first year we wouldn't ask for any money, and we did that. We didn't ask for anything.
Fundraising or Patreon, anything like that. Ads, we didn't want to do anything like that.
This year we're going to start to incorporate a little more of that, but only because we want to improve our brand, our podcast.
Well, that's something we definitely want to mention too, is because on a live stream we're going to be dropping our merch. We might even we're trying to work on a Patreon and things of that nature. And just want to say that straight up off the front is that this is not to line our pockets at all.
Right.
Every cent that is donated, merch purchase, things of that nature will go right back into podcasts. We had to spend a decent amount of money to get where we are now.
Yeah.
And to go any further, it's going to take a lot more. And so we thought, hey, if we can try to just get a little bit donated or through the merch or whatever,
yeah,
all that's going to go to buying new cameras, new mics, everything.
Because as we just said, like video content is kind of where we're wanting to head next, and that to make it as good as we want it to be, it's going to cost more than what we can realistically do right now. And so we are going to offer ways for you guys to help us out with that if you choose to do so. If you don't, that's completely fine. You don't have to. But if you choose to want to help us, we are going to start to offer some ways, and probably by next week's episode we'll have like official details on what those things are.
A lot of it's going to be launched in the live stream today.
It's launching in the live stream. So anyways,
all right, so let's move on, and let's go ahead and get into our schedule that you know and love so much. And that is going to go ahead and start.
At least we hope you do.
We hope you do. Some of you, like 3 of you do, I think. I don't. Anyway, so let's get into our news. And because we have some exciting stuff, but like I said, we want to try to keep it as short as we can, but while including everything we want to include. So the very first news piece for the week is that the character count and the location count has been revealed for the Star Wars Lego Skywalker Saga video game. So this is a highly anticipated game that we've been waiting for some time now, and now it has the entire Skywalker Saga, all new locations, all new storylines, and I'm super, super excited about this. So Drew, do you have any more on that for us?
Yeah, so the lead designer over there was being interviewed by the official PlayStation magazine, and they said there are around 300 playable characters and about 800 unique characters altogether in the game.
Interesting.
They went on to say that their favorite is Yaddle. Nice. And Babu Frick is also a playable character, and they say that's pretty great.
Nice, so, that's awesome.
And then they also said there are 23 planets with 28 unique locations that the players can visit, each full of quests, challenges, items, and characters defined.
Sweet.
If you have a favorite Star Wars location, it's pretty likely you can visit it in-game. Each of these planets also feature a local space where you can take advantage of the many ships you can unlock to get in dogfights and defeat capital ships, which, when boarded, reveal even more areas to explore.
Dude, this sounds so good.
So
they're ramping up the Lego space here.
Yeah, like they're going all out for this one.
Yeah, and as they should.
Yeah.
You know, this is the culmination of all the Star Wars stuff, right?
I'm really, really hoping this doesn't get pushed back again.
I know.
It's supposed to be coming out early 2021, so within the next 3 months, I would say, is when you would think. But since they have not given us an official date, it does make me wonder if this gets pushed back to like the fall or something.
Well,
I hope that's
first of all, knock on wood. Anyway, but first of all, like I said, knock on wood. Second of all, though, okay, grief, not again, not doing it again. We're having some malfunctions here. Anyway, so with that said, though, here's the thing: with everything that's going on, they probably didn't give the date. Like they maybe fully intend to release it in 2 to 3 months, right? But they're just not giving the date so that they're kind of flexible on that. So it's not just because they haven't released the date doesn't inherently mean that it's not coming then. So that's just the way I look at it.
Right. Yeah. No. I think they want to be. I think they want to be sure that they're going to release it when they say this time. They
don't want like all these pushbacks all these games are getting because they keep delaying, and then they get so mad.
And so like I think they're wanting to make sure they know exactly when it's going to release, and I just don't think they must just not be for certain yet.
Well, and that's okay. I mean, we get it. Things are kind of crazy right now, but regardless, super excited about it. I can't wait to play it, and we will definitely be doing some live streams on that.
Oh yeah. Okay, so moving on to our second story. We have a new book that's going to be coming out in September. This is going to be called Life Day Treasury, Holiday Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. It's a compilation of 8 stories centered around the galaxy's big holiday, Life Day. It'll feature drawings from Grant Griffin, who worked with George Mann in 2019's Myth and Fables and last year's Dark Legends, which are both very great books. And Kevin Scott is going to be writing these along with George Mann. So that team together will be writing these stories. There is at least going to be one that features the High Republic with Stellan Gaios is going to be
nice,
kind of centered on one of those. I'm not sure about. I think there's one about Ewoks. And so we'll see exactly where that goes. But interestingly enough, we never got anything about Stellan in the High Republic Light of the Jedi. At least not really. We heard a couple things, but we didn't really get much from it. So I think that this might be one of our first introductions to him, unless he's actually finally centered in the, or well, not centered. What would be the word?
Like starring in, or
starring,
or
yeah, that's what
premiering
I'm
in,
looking
or
for.
whatever.
Starring in the second adult novel, because he is like on the main cover. So he's a cool looking character. I want to know more about him, and we just haven't really heard much yet. So
yeah, no, I'm excited too. I think this is really cool. It's one of those like books that's not going to maybe add too much to the storyline and all stuff like that.
Right.
But it's just fun stuff that it's going to maybe add a little bit to canon across different eras and things of that nature. So I'm excited about that. For sure.
It'll be fun. And, coming right around the Christmas time, maybe I'll save it for, well, no, I won't save it. I'll have to read it like immediately because that's just how it works. But,
but we might be able to like do some like cool like read-alongs or something like that around Christmas time.
Hey, that might be
It'd
fun.
Be kind of fun. Yeah. Which is a little bit far away, but
we could narrate. We could do all the voices and.
That's my jam. I love it.
All right.
I was going to attempt to do something, but I'm not. Anyway,
do it.
Do it. Upon once a time, long ago, on Life Day it was. I don't know. I'm just making something. Anyway, okay. So we're going to go on to our final news piece for the week, and that is Star Wars' Victory's Price book releases a new excerpt ahead of the March release. So we've been seeing that happen quite a bit recently with some of the other books, especially with some of the New Republic stuff. But they've been kind of releasing some of these excerpts, I guess maybe just to get people excited about it, or maybe kind of give them a little something because it's been delayed. But yeah, so it's pretty cool that some new things are coming out. So if you're excited for that book, go check that out, of course. Drew, you got anything?
Yeah, it comes out March 2nd. And so if you're interested, go to onstarwars.com. They have it there. You can read it. Just that little bit there. I'm personally not going to read it. I don't really like reading those. I like to wait. But I know some people just want to get their first taste as soon as they can. So
you got these. You got 8 chapters of Light of the Jedi that was released. Like, that's a little crazy. Right. We read the first one and that was fine. But yeah,
it was like the prologue. Yeah,
exactly.
But anyways, this is kind of the finale of that trilogy, and I think it's really going to an interesting place from what I have heard and seen about it. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet, that series, because I think it's going to be an interesting conclusion. Yeah,
for sure. All right, so that will conclude our news for today.
Well, this is crazy. We finished our news in 13 minutes.
We are actually doing what we're saying what we're doing. I don't know how we're doing it. Anyway, so let's start our rumors. And that is the very first one. Star Wars is apparently working on a new Knights of the Old Republic game. And I've actually heard this a couple different places. Of course, there's a lot of people who would love this, but how it fits in with canon and Disney wanting to do that kind of stuff, I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Settle in, folks. We're going to talk about this one for a minute. So let me...
All the time that we made up.
We're gonna spend it all here. Let's just talk about this for a minute. Bespin Bulletin is the one that has revealed this, and just to make it clear, Bespin Bulletin has a pretty good track record on as far as like rumors go. Yeah, the things they have said has usually been right. So that's one thing. Also, they also said that they found out that Jason Schreier has been talking about this. And for those of you who don't know, Jason Schreier was with Kotaku. Now he's with Bloomberg, but he's like one of the biggest video game reporters out there. Okay, if Jason Schreier's saying something, it's probably happening. Right. And Jason Schreier is saying this is a thing, but it's not happening with EA. So that's the first big thing, because if it's not happening with EA, that means BioWare is not involved.
Right, exactly. Which they're
which is the first
folks.
Which is the first big thing there. Okay, right. So we're getting a Knights of the Old Republic title that is in development by, as of right now, an unknown developer.
Right.
That's not with EA.
Yeah, that could be a little scary, a little spooky.
And yes, so my initial thoughts go, when I heard that, and I heard, so that means, BioWare, I went, oh no. But then I started to think about it. And if you think about it, BioWare is not the same BioWare it was back when Knights of the Old Republic was made.
True. Yeah, that's
most of the people who probably worked on Knights of the Old Republic are no longer at BioWare.
They're either gone or retired. Gone to another company or
yeah,
retired.
It's been a long time ago.
Yeah.
Honestly, BioWare isn't really the same team that made the Mass Effect games. For a lot of them have left.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of people say that BioWare's recent games, such as Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda, these games that didn't do so well, a lot of people credit that to the fact that BioWare's not the same
folks,
not the same people as it used to be, and they've lost their magic. And I'm not really here to really argue with that.
Yeah.
But it does make me say, okay, well, this might be in better hands to not be with BioWare, to be with EA.
And here's the thing. Here's one thing you got to think about. If it goes back to BioWare, right? In their minds, they're thinking, even if they're new people to the team, they're thinking because this is something our label, it's not label, but something in music, but you know what I'm saying? Our product, what am I thinking of? Like what BioWare is a what? Like what is that term?
BioWare is the developer.
Okay, developer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because our developer IP had this many years before, basically we can just do with it what we want. We can take it in a new direction because it's still with us. And people who are new to the team will probably have new ideas. But somebody giving it to another developer IP, right? Giving it to another developer, they might take it in a little bit different direction, but probably still honor the way BioWare originally did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you hope for. Right. I mean, I think for me, and that brings the next question is like, what exactly is this game? What makes a Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah.
And for me, a Knights of the Old Republic game means you create a character, you make decisions for that character,
right?
So it's an RPG. There's dialogue choices. Your choices affect the story. All of that. Essentially, the same as some of you may know or have played in more recent years, Mass Effect followed that same structure because Mass Effect was what they did after they finished. Like they made Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and then eventually made Mass Effect because they wanted to continue those games, but they didn't have the Star Wars IP at that point.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, it's kind of going on to a different topic, but I'll say this question. If you have anything to say on what you're saying, you can come back.
Okay.
I will come back to my question anyway. But coming to a new era of KOTOR, if this is true, what makes KOTOR, right? Are we talking about a lot of the basic elements of like character development, choosing different paths that's going to ultimately affect the ending and stuff like that? But do you think that the combat style isn't completely indicative of KOTOR, or do you think it can be something to more like Mass Effect, where it's over the shoulder or a first person shooter type thing? Probably more like over the shoulder, but still have the storyline choosing elements.
I personally think the combat can change because the combat of Knights of the Old Republic is the biggest, most outdated part of Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
It very much was a pause, strategic type deal where anytime you saw an enemy, it would pause and you would decide what you're going to do.
Right.
Most games aren't like that anymore.
Right.
Sure, there are some that mimic that just for the sake of nostalgia and those kind of things. Some people like those slow strategic games, but I think a game that comes out, this big new Star Wars game that comes out in 2024, something like that. I'm just throwing a random year out there. I don't know, but a game that comes out in that time, I don't think can be that combat style anymore.
I'm in agreement with you. I think that there's a lot of people who may initially kind of bucket and be like, "Oh, this isn't KOTOR," but then kind of like subconsciously or internally be like, "Okay, I'm kind of glad this is the way it is because I love KOTOR 1 and 2, but that combat style was a pain in the butt."
you will have some people that will complain about it and blah blah blah, and they might pull a Dragon Age where Dragon Age Inquisition kind of did both. So like you could play more in a like mash the buttons a little, sort of. It still kind of was, but at the same time you could also have it more like where it paused and you kind of strategically pick your attacks and stuff.
Right.
They could do something like that, but I personally feel that they should just kind of go more into a third person action as far as combat goes.
Kind of like a Witcher type scenario.
Yeah, well, and kind of just like what Mass Effect did with shooting. And honestly, Knights of the Old Republic should allow you to just be a shooter if you choose to do so. That's what the other ones did as well.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of follows that Mass Effect style gameplay. And honestly, that's what they need to do. They need to mimic Mass Effect 2, but Star Wars, and it will be
it'd be fantastic. Yeah, I agree.
So that's my hopes. As far as who is developing this, there's a rumor out there that Activision may be involved because they're already making another game. They're making that open world game. Which, let me be clear, I don't think that these are the same games. I think they're separate games. I think Activision is making a game but I don't think it's this Knights of the Republic.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah. So whoever ends up making it, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, it's hard to tell. There's just so many different options out there. Right. It's hard to try to say what that would be. But my last question for you on this is, do you think this is a Knights of the Old Republic remake, or are they going to honor what came before and kind of a continuation of those stories?
It's a good question. I really don't know. If it's going to be a new studio, and in our eyes, they'd almost have to change the combat style, I don't think that they could get away with changing that much stuff on a remake. I think personally that it's either going to be continually moving forward, or it could be, instead of KOTOR, it could be a KOTOR, Knights of the High Republic. Maybe something along those lines later in the future when the Phase 2 comes out, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. It's like KOTOR, the Old Republic, but it's Knights of the High Republic where we're getting some of that action now too, and so they can have their own storyline input and not have to worry about infringing upon the old storyline. Because of course I would love to stay in the Old Republic, make it more canon and get some of those stories in there. I know we both want that, but at the end of the day, I just don't know if that's what they're going to do. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's a good question.
I think when you look at Star Wars canon, we don't have much of the story of Revan in canon.
Right. Well, I mean, the only piece of semi piece of canon we have of Revan is out of the Star Wars dictionary or whatever for Rise of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Or Rise of Skywalker. Excuse me.
Yeah. You're right. That's one of the only really true canon mentions we have of him. There's very few. That might be the only one, actually.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I'd have to look, but So the question is do they do a remake? And when I say remake, I don't think it'll be a complete exact remake. I think it'll be their own version of the story, which is a little scary to me, to be honest.
Right.
But if they were to do that, that probably means there isn't going to be a movie, because that story would be told in a game, which arguably maybe that would be the best, is for that story to stay as a video game. But I think no matter what this is, things about Revan will change. That story will change somewhat.
Yeah.
So the question is whether they try to completely retell it. You play as Revan again, but it's kind of just a whole different way of how that plays out, or they kind of jump ahead a little bit, honor kind of the history. Things might still change in the story, but you kind of already understand what had happened back then with Revan, and
kind of have this basic common understanding,
right? And then they kind of do something new, and I think that could very well be what they decide to do.
Yeah.
Or maybe when they say Knights of the Old Republic game, maybe they're just talking about the style of game, and maybe you're right. Maybe it's going to be set in the High Republic and be something completely different, but just in that same kind of style. There's just
right. There's a lot.
It's hard telling.
A lot to go off of there. Yeah. And of course, all of this is completely rumor. None of this may even be true. So
right.
So we're just very passionate about it because it's one of our favorite games for sure.
Yes. Yeah, so look, we can move on here.
Probably
going into our next rumor, The Mandalorian Season 3 is in development. Or sorry, not in development right now, but rumored to be in development starting April 5th, 2021. This is posted to FTIA, which is Film and Television Industry Alliance. So the fact that this is on there, scheduled, makes me think that this is probably true.
Yeah.
At least this is where they're kind of hoping to start production. And
I have no qualms with that. Like, I really don't have much to say because that makes sense, especially since we're getting Book of Boba Fett in December. And knowing that we're not going to get the next chapter of Mando until 2022, I have no doubts that it's going to start in probably around April. I mean, it just makes sense,
Yeah. So the only thing to me that confirms is, this is going to come later. We're not getting this in December of this year. This is going to come after that. It's going to be in 2022 sometime. Question remains whether this is a spring release or if they wait even longer.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Personally, I don't know, and I want to say that the production for season 2 of Mando was in like January of 2020. I could be wrong on that.
Well, I remember we reported on it not long after we had started.
Right.
The podcast. So
like February, maybe let's say late January, early February, and it came out in October, right? So if we go off that same kind of timeline, right? So let's say February, right? February, March, April, 2 months. It makes sense that it comes out around December on that same timeline. You know what I'm saying? So it could be that it might be like a February release after Book of Boba Fett ends. So. Hard to say, but I definitely think that the April 5th date could be plausible for sure.
For sure.
Okay, so our third rumor kind of falls somewhere in the same lines here, and it's actually kind of a pretty kind of wild out there rumor. I'm not really sure why this would be, but the rumor says Han Solo and Qi'ra will reportedly appear in the Mandalorian universe or around that timeline of the Mandalorian. So. Yeah, and before I say too much, Drew, say the quote that you said, which is what really threw me off.
So here's what it says. It says they heard, and let's make this very clear. It's We Got This Covered.
Right.
Our favorite place to get our crazy rumors.
This is our evil Yoda clone rumor source.
Yes, exactly. They said. We got this covered, has heard from our sources, the same ones who told us Luke Skywalker would appear on the show, as well as Ahsoka Tano, both of which were correct, that Lucasfilm has plans for young Solo, and Emilia Clarke's Qi'ra to turn up in the Mandalorian universe soon.
Yeah, I mean, why? How? You know what I'm saying? We see Solo happening a decent chunk of time before A New Hope, first of all. Right, and then now Mando is happening like a decade after Return of the Jedi, so you're definitely not going to have young Han Solo.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. Now, could we get Han Solo and Qi'ra in the Mandalorian?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
But again, why? At that point, Han is already going to be with.
So Leia, you either get Alden Ehrenreich and have him
aged,
and try to maybe use some CGI to make him look a little more like Harrison Ford or something.
Yeah.
You can do that, but I mean, most people didn't like him as Han Solo, so I don't know why you would be bringing him back to do that, to try to play, to literally try to play Harrison Ford at this point, right? Because at least you could have the excuse of trying to be a young Harrison Ford now, but now if you do this, you're going to have to be Harrison Ford.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think the the better option would to be bring Harrison Ford back and have him de-aged.
Which
and
that
do
would
that.
be incredibly difficult.
But again,
too,
it'd be
know?
incredibly difficult.
And he wouldn't want to do that.
He wouldn't want to do it because
he doesn't even want to be in the movies, let alone a TV show. Are you kidding me? So,
so I just don't see this happening.
No.
I know everybody, well, not everybody, but there are people out there that want to see more of that story and more of Kira.
Yeah.
And I think you could bring Kira back pretty easily for this.
Sure.
You don't really. I don't think you really need a Solo to be in it necessarily.
Yeah.
But she was working with Maul, and there's a good chance that maybe she kind of took over after Maul. I'd say there's a good chance of something like that, and so you could see her maybe as a leader of a syndicate or something. Maybe even in the book of Boba Fett or something, that would make some sense.
Yeah, because now Boba is trying to take over Jabba's empire,
right? And it would be
conflicting interests,
and it would be another character to add another connection from another source of from a movie and stuff. I think all that would be interesting if they did it right,
and that makes a lot more sense to me personally. Just Kira with her new kind of syndicate now, facing Boba.
Yeah, and personally, I like to think that Solo. I like to think Han didn't see Kira anymore after.
Same, right? Same. Because that, in my mind, that's kind of like some weird interference with Leia and his relationship and stuff like that.
I guess maybe after the original trilogy, he could see her at some point. I think I would be more okay with that. So I guess maybe he could see her in The Mandalorian.
But what's the point?
I hope there wasn't any time in between that, because I think it's important that they left on the note they did and moved on. And
precisely, yeah.
Anyways, kind of a crazy rumor, but I'm not against the idea of Kira coming back in some way. And the Mandalorian show might be one of the cooler ways to do that. So
right. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it makes more sense for me personally that Kira would just be there by herself. I don't know why Han would have to be in it, but if it does happen, then cool. I think it's a little kind of crazy, but anyway.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our last rumor is we have some Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2 rumor or leaks, whatever you want to call it. They're saying that this sequel is going to pick up immediately after the events of the first game and is going to include a Darth Maul cameo.
Really? Interesting.
In addition to that, it also claims the Inferno Squad will also make an appearance.
Okay.
And it's going to use Unreal Engine 5 and is currently aiming to release in 2022.
Yeah, I mean that's not too far away.
No, but I think 2022 makes sense if they to release it that year would be a good year to release it. I think a Darth Maul cameo could be cool. Maybe you have a little fight against him.
I think it would give some legitimate connection to the universe that we see in Jedi Fallen Order, because as of right now we really have nobody to tie to Cal Kestis, nobody to tie. I mean, not nobody, but you know what I'm saying. Like, there's not these big characters that we're seeing, from the main saga or from some of these big shows or whatever that's going to tie them in. Now we have Saw Gerrera, but I mean that's Saw Gerrera. It's kind of a smaller character, So
the thing is, if this is planned to release in 2022, we might actually get our first peak sometime this year, maybe by like in the fall.
It's very possible.
So anyways, that's all we really have here, but all of this seems plausible to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But also a part of that leak, you could say, was again claiming that Star Wars Battlefront 3 is happening and is going to be announced soon. Which we just keep hearing this like every week from different places. So
that's probably more likely than anything as it sits right now. So.
It seems very likely at this point that Battlefront 3 is in the works, and that we're going to probably hear about this sometime in the next 6 months.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
We're not going to get into that, but it's going to be very interesting to see where they take that for sure.
Yeah.
So,
all right, that's all of our rumors, but we're going to jump into releases. And our releases for this week, we actually have 4 new comics being released on Wednesday. So it's a big release week, and
crazy.
all interesting, exciting comics as well. We have Star Wars issue 11. This is currently dealing with, they're trying to get to Starlight in this comic. For those of you who don't know, that is actually a very important part of the High Republic right now. They've just opened up Starlight Beacon. And so now in the Star Wars comic, they are currently going to go here to this old High Republic station. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's really cool
to see how that ties in.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That Star Wars issue 11. Then we're getting the second issue of the High Republic. So that should be great. We're getting Star Wars Adventures issue number 3. Whatever.
I mean, it's a I know you really enjoyed that one. So.
And then we're getting.
Just don't even address it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just moving on. And we're getting the High Republic Adventures 1.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll see if that one's good or not.
Continuation of the epic.
I will say that's the one that Yoda is supposed to be more prominent in. So that could be interesting that's just promising. For that alone. Yeah. So. Yeah, so also we have a new novel. That's Star Wars, The High Republic, Into the Dark by Claudia Gray.
Oh, yeah.
I am about... Oh, so sorry, that releases on Tuesday. I am about a quarter of the way through it, probably. And so I'll have thoughts on that here soon. But,
right.
But not just yet. We will... be giving that away in just a couple hours in our live episode that we're doing. So our big celebration. So tune in for that, and you might just win the book. So.
Yes. So tune in for that. It's gonna be super cool. So let's go ahead and do our Q&A. Real quick, I just want to say that we had a lot of questions from previous people asking stuff on older ones, and I asked one this week, even though we had quite a few questions left. So we have a lot of questions, and in an effort to save some time, we're still already going over some of the time that we wanted to, but that's okay. We always do. Those of you who are new, we will always go over the time we want to go over. But anyway, so if your question, you feel like, oh, wait, I know I asked my question before some of these in here. Well, for the sake of time, we've taken some of those out. And every question that we currently have, which is quite a few of them, will be answered in the live stream. So please go over to that. So we're going to answer just our 3 typical questions this week. So our very first one comes from Alex Mason, who says, do you guys think that 1313 will be picked back up? So for those of you who don't know, and this may not be a super comprehensive explanation, so forgive me, it's been a while since I've read up on it, but 1313 was a game that was in development back before the Disney acquisition, and it was kind of like a bounty hunter game, and it's on Coruscant. They have all these different levels, right? The housing and businesses and stuff would be down in these like holes or these massive shafts, and they'd have these different levels. But anyway, this was called 1313 in reference to level 1313, which is really cool because we actually saw that reference in Clone Wars Season 7 when it came out last year, which was really neat. Anyway, so there's some gameplay released and stuff like that, and it looked really cool. But the question is, do you think that it will be picked back up? Personally, no, I don't think that it will. I at this point, there's not heard any rumors about it. I haven't heard anything about it, and maybe even the studio that has the rights to the work that they've done may not want to release it. I don't know. I'm just saying I haven't heard about it for so long. I doubt that it would be picked back up. Now maybe sometime in the future, but who knows? Drew, what do you think?
Well, I spaced out and I have no idea what the question was.
That's typical Andrew. Also, do you think the game 1313 would be picked back up at some point? Anyway, I'm glad you could, tune in with us today.
Well, I'm listening, and I'm like, I wonder if I can figure out what he's talking about before I have to ask what he's talking about.
Well, no, in all fairness to Andrew, we're still both trying to work as the other one's talking on the live stream stuff. So, so anyway, do you think 1313, a game, will ever be picked back up for development?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
We may get a different take on that eventually, maybe some kind of bounty hunter story. I think that's a high potential of getting something.
Especially now that we're getting Mando stuff.
Yeah,
and all
especially since we're getting all of this bounty hunter stuff.
Yeah.
That
who knows? Maybe a Boba Fett game. I mean, that's really out there, but who knows?
Well, I mean, that was kind of the rumor, though, for 1313, is that you played as this character that then gets killed by Boba Fett, and then you take over as Boba, which would have been a really neat twist.
Exactly.
Had we ever gotten that game.
Yeah.
But, so I think that, we might get something like that in the future. But, but that game, particularly, no, I don't think we're going to ever see that game come to life.
Right. I'm on the same page as you. There could be different iterations that might come out, but yeah, that specific game that we saw those game clips of, probably not.
And also it's just like the rights to that. I don't know who has the rights to that at this point, and
they may not be able to share it and stuff like that.
Yeah, you just never know when it comes to all the legal side of it. So.
Yeah, because at that point, like say they want to take 1313, right? They'd have some other studio or some other developer would have to restart from scratch, even if it was the same exact thing.
And I don't even remember who the developer was for that.
I don't either.
We'd have to look it up, and it's not. I don't think it's worth doing. But
all right.
I'm fairly certain whoever the developer was for that game. I don't know if they even exist now. So.
Right. So probably not. That's the overarching answer. So Alex, thank you. All the rest of your questions we're going to try to answer in the live stream, which I know you're going to try to be there. So thank you for that.
We love all the questions.
We love the questions, and we love that you're going to try to be at the live stream. But if you can't make it tonight or whatever, when you listen to this, it's always going to be back on Facebook. So if you want to see the rest of your questions answered, it will be addressed there. So. Our second question comes from Kristen Perry, who says, now she says this. Now, Kristen, I apologize if I misunderstood the question, but you say, how did the holocron work and how many were there? So I'm not specifically, or I'm sure what you're specifically referencing on that. And I apologize if I missed something, but I'm just going to take the question as, how does a holocron work and how many are there? So again, I apologize if that you're referencing something specific and I'm not getting it. And if so, we can talk in real life because, we know each other. So, right. So anyway, I'll go over some basic stuff, and then Drew, you can add to it if you have anything else to say. But basically, holocrons, as we know them, are basically just the tools of the Jedi, and most of them are pretty ancient. And these holocrons are things to be able to keep secrets, keep teachings, keep plans, things of that nature, building schematics, all this stuff that is innately to the Jedi inside of these holocrons. They're these storage things, right? These storage devices. But what makes it unique to the Jedi is that they can only be opened with the Force. So essentially there's a crystal inside of this metal housing that can be manipulated by the Force. What's interesting, in Legends and in canon, it never says what that crystal is. And because I tried to double check and look it up before the episode because I want to make sure I was correct on that. A lot of times people just assumed that they were kyber crystal and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if you go to Wikipedia and you look at the Legends, doesn't say it on canon. It says with facets made of a crystalline material. It doesn't say at all what it actually is. So, which is very interesting. But basically this crystal can be manipulated through the Force to store massive amounts of data and information and things of that nature. And it basically just kept the Jedi's secrets for them. Now, how many of them were there? That's a good question. And again, a lot of stuff about holocrons is not ever been talked about, right, in Legends or canon, about how many there were, or who originally made them, or what even that crystal is that they use, right? There's not a lot of information, especially in canon, about this. We know if you look back to an episode in Clone Wars, Jocasta Nu is tasked as the librarian to be over all of the holocrons. And there's that one episode that had Mace Windu and a bunch of them in there, and there was quite a few holocrons in there, quite a few. Now, maybe not like million or anything like that, but hundreds and hundreds for sure. And like I said, but most of them, I don't think they make new holocrons. I think that you can maybe add data to them, but you can't make any more of them. I could be wrong, completely wrong on that. But the reason I know that you can add data to them is because, as you see in Rebels, Caleb has one that has Obi-Wan's speech of hey, don't come to the Jedi Temple, etc., etc. So you can add more information to them through the Force, but I don't know that you can make any more. So I know this is not probably the answer that you wanted, so I apologize. But that's kind of a basic breakdown of what holocrons are. But like exactly what they are, how many there are, there's really just no clear, concise answers. Drew, do you have anything more to say about holocrons on that manner?
The only thing I would add is that, there are holocrons, but specifically there are Jedi holocrons, but there are also Sith holocrons.
True. Yeah.
Jedi holocrons were normally cubes, and Sith holocrons were normally like a pyramid.
Yeah.
And so holocrons were not just a Jedi thing, but they were
Right.
Jedi and Sith, and yeah, normally they were just used to store knowledge, secrets, those kind of things. So
yeah. So, thank you for the question. I apologize again if that wasn't exactly what you're asking. So, like I said, since we know each other, we can talk in real life if that wasn't or it wasn't correct, and we can talk about it. All right, so our third and final question comes from Hunter Blackburn, who says, at this point, I'm sure that we will eventually get a From a Certain Point of View book for The Return of Jedi, as we've gotten for New Hope and for Empire Strikes Back at this point. So, if and when they make a certain point of view for The Return of the Jedi, what is a story each of you would like to see told in that book? So basically, that's a really good question. Obviously, there's so much going on in that movie. I don't know about Drew, but I actually have a pretty specific one I would like to say. For me, this is like something really bizarre, but I would love to see a story about Han being frozen in carbonite. And because right now, it's left up to the imagination as to what happens to a person in carbonite, right? Or is it like you get frozen and then unfrozen sometime later, and it's like a blink of an eye or snap of a finger, and you're like, I was asleep and now I'm awake. I'm like, here I am, transported almost. Or do you dream about stuff? Is it kind of like a deep slumber? What happens? So I'd love to maybe get like a short story about Han being frozen in it, and maybe if he has dreams and stuff like that, it would give some legitimate canon to that random little part of the universe, and it would be cool to maybe see what he dreams about and things of that nature. I think that would be a really interesting story. Drew, what about you? Is there anything particular in Return of the Jedi that you'd like to see a certain point of view story about?
I have 3.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I would like one about Salacious B. Crumb.
Of course, naturally.
I just think that'd be funny. Just
why not?
Just see what's in his head, type deal.
Another one after you're done.
I'd like to see one from Yoda's perspective, of Yoda's passing, and
going into the living force.
Yeah, that
would be cool.
Just kind of see what happens at that point for him and different things. And then I would like to see one from Kenobi's perspective of seeing Anakin come back and seeing that whole Luke and Anakin together, and seeing how Obi-Wan sees that,
yes.
and how that
that would be great.
Because we've already seen kind of more of Kenobi in these past 2 we've gotten. Already as a Force Ghost, we've seen kind of some of his thoughts and things. So it could be very easily done for them to do it again in Return of the Jedi, and I think it'd be really cool to get into Kenobi's head in those moments. So
yeah, those are some really good answers. It would give some. That's all right. Anyway, but it would give some really cool canonical lore too. What happens when you cross over into the living force? Much like what happens when you're frozen in carbonite. These experiences.
Which we learned some of that with Qui-Gon in the first, the one for A New Hope. They kind of talk about Qui-Gon kind of choosing how he's going to even show how he's going to look.
Himself.
Stuff like that. It's very, it kind of shows kind of how that works a little bit.
Gotcha.
And but I think they could totally do more of it, and that's why I think it would be cool to see those. Yeah,
that's awesome. Those are some really good ones. There's and like I said, that movie is full of so many different little things. But another one, it's not as intricate, but I thought it'd be kind of funny is, correct me if I'm wrong, but the assassin or whatever that Leia dressed up as was an actual person. That was an actual assassin. She took that armor. Or if not, it's similar armor to that assassin. So what would be interesting, like I said, if I'm not incorrect, is maybe getting a story about that assassin or bounty hunter, and how did they get the armor? Did they?
Yeah, we already got that story.
Oh, did they? Oh man, okay, so I'm behind. So there you go.
Yeah, we already got that story.
I didn't. Is it in Empire? Where's that?
I don't remember exactly where they told the story, but I know that we got it already. You keep talking, I can look it up real quick.
Well, it not nothing too important. I just thought that would be kind of interesting because we know that's, from my understanding, is a real bounty hunter, a real assassin, or whatever. And so it'd be interesting to see how Leia got that armor, right? That outfit. Is it something that she replicated because she knew that bounty hunter was going to be gone for a while, or did they take him out or imprison him and take the armor?
It's in one of those Forces of Destiny short stories on YouTube.
Then I'd have no idea then. I don't think I've heard.
Maz Kanata helps her get it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I knew that the story was told somewhere. So
I'll have to look it up. So anyway, there you go. It's already answered for me. So awesome. But anyway, yeah. So a lot of really good stories. Andrew had a couple good ones. I really love to know about the Carbonite one. So, hey, if anybody has any ones that you would like to hear or know about, come on our live stream tonight and tell us. So. Yeah. If you hear this before the live stream, anyway.
Which is unlikely at this point.
Don't remind me. So let's get quickly into our main topic. Contrary to popular belief, I don't think we're going to try to take too much time on this because we do plan on talking about this on the live stream.
We'll talk about it more on the live stream.
Yeah, we're going to really in depth. But we definitely want to cover it on this too because it's our main topic.
Well,
so
people have wanted us to do this for a while. This has been one of the biggest requests we've gotten since we started the podcast.
Yes, but we wanted to save this for something really big.
We wanted to save it for something special because we've been very secretive on kind of like what where we stand on all the movies as far as like exact orders. So.
And I'll be honest with you, there's a reason why, because I know, at least for myself, I have some opinions that are going to ruffle some feathers, and I'll say it right off the bat.
Hey. No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say right off the bat, like, it's just our opinion, right? Yeah. There's no, and when I say, oh, this movie that you love is my bottom on the list, is it's not saying that I disvalue anybody's opinion. I just personally
you can say whatever you want, but we're going to lose some fans over this, so.
That's why I'm trying to save face.
You might as well just give it up. I mean, we're gonna get cussed out. We're gonna.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, but seriously, like. Even for me.
Okay, well, first of all, let's say what we're even doing. We haven't even said it yet.
We haven't said it?
No. Oh. So what we're doing is we're ranking all of
Did we really not say it yet?
No. We're talking about how it's so requested. Yeah.
That's so funny.
What's requested? What's going to get people maybe mad at us? We're going to rank all of the Star Wars movies. So not even just episodes 1 through 9, but also including Rogue One and Solo.
You thought it was a good idea for us to start a podcast.
Who knows? Anyway.
Yeah.
So we wanted to save that for our 1-year anniversary or our 50th episode, one of the two. Yeah. Because we wanted it to be a big thing for sure.
Right.
And because a lot of people requested that. So anyway.
Starting from 11 going up to 1.
Yep.
And I just want to again say even for me, it's hard for me to do a list like this because a lot of these movies fluctuate. Like a lot of these movies will move to different places in my order. Yeah. Just depending on where I'm at in life, and honestly, it's not these movies do not stay in this order for the rest of my life. They will move around. Now that being said, some of them towards the top have stayed there for a long time for me, and potentially may never move. But the bottom half can move all over the place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
So just to keep that in mind, and again, like this, I'm doing this as this is what I enjoy the most while I watch it, and
exactly,
and that's all it is. We're not saying like this has to be the order everyone needs to think is the best way to watch Star Wars or anything like that. Like this is just us having some fun and giving our opinions on what we enjoy most in of the Star Wars movies.
So the last two things I'll say to complement that, and we'll get right into it, is I think Drew and I are the same on this. Our top half, like what our favorites are solid. Like when we say this is our top 3 or our top 5, like this is solid. But when it gets to the lower half, again, like you said, it fluctuates. Sometimes I watch it and I'll get a different opinion on it or whatever. But and the last thing I'll say though is like, even though we say it's like this is my least favorite one on the list, it's still Star Wars, and I love Star Wars, and I always will.
Yeah,
I mean, know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Like in the long run, all I love all 11 of these movies.
Exactly.
That all mean something to me in some way or another.
We're just really trying to cover our tracks right now.
We're really trying to keep our fans like.
Yeah.
We're really hoping you guys don't leave after this.
All right, let's.
One other thing. I know we keep saying that.
Yeah.
But the last thing to make sure everyone understands is we have not talked about this.
Yeah.
I have no idea what Braxton's list is. He has no idea what my list is.
Correct.
We have not said a word to each other about what we ranked, where we ranked it. So
correct. So what we're gonna do, like I said earlier, is we're gonna start at the bottom where our least favorites are, and then we're gonna work our way to our most favorite, and we're gonna go one by one. So number 11 is.
I feel a little nervous right now.
I do too.
Why do I feel so nervous?
So with that said, let's go ahead and start. And Andrew, go off first.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Number 11. What is your least favorite Star Wars movie?
Oh man, when you put it that way, it makes it just like
it's hard.
I
know.
Hard.
I love them all, but
okay.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off.
Now.
Don't give a justification yet, because we're going to do after. Remember, we're going to give our listings, and then after that, we're going to give our explanation as to what.
You're right.
Least
I just need to say it, and then and you're going to say yours, and then we're going to give our right. Okay. My number 11 is Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Really interesting.
Yes.
So for me, my number 11 is Attack of the Clones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, okay. Let's do our explanation. You want to do it now, or you want to do it afterwards?
No. I think we should do it.
Okay.
Now. I think we should do it. Now.
For me, Attack of the Clones. Honestly, I hate to even say that, right? Because it's a great movie in terms of my nostalgia, but I just think there's so much crazy, just silliness, and the effects were bad, and for the time at least, you know what I'm saying? Especially compared to some of the stuff we're getting now. I hate to say it because I love Attack of the Clones. I have so much nostalgia for it. But in terms of the story, the quality of the effects, and the visuals and all that stuff, I think it's got to go to the bottom for me. So why is Phantom Menace number 1 for you? Or 11, I guess.
So for me, Phantom Menace, of course, introduced us to Qui-Gon, Darth Maul. Some cool characters, right?
Right.
And of course, was the reintroduction into Star Wars. So
right.
It has some big things for it. But for me, most of that movie to me is just a bore. Like I get so bored of it. Like the whole time they're on Tatooine, when they go and they're dealing with Jar Jar and on Naboo, all that stuff is just really boring to me. The fight between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon is a masterpiece. I love that. I love that scene. Yeah. That's one of the coolest moments in Star Wars. But it doesn't make up for the fact that the rest of the movie is just so boring.
Yeah, I understand that.
And so that's why I placed it as my 11.
Okay, I understand that. Okay, so let's go on, and we may not give as much detail in our 10 through 2 as we will as like our least favorite and most favorite, but we might give a little bit. So number 10, go ahead again.
My number 10, or should you go first this time?
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first.
My number 10 is The Last Jedi.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that's what I thought. I knew people were going to get mad at that. I know people are going to get mad at that.
You got people like punching the wall right now.
I know.
People are unfollowing us on Facebook right this minute.
While I considered, and I'll just go ahead and say it because I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. I'll just give a little explanation on this. Is that for me, I know that, I have been considering quality of production and things of that nature. Yeah. But overall, how does the movie make me feel at the end? Right? To me, that is what I'm considering. All of the Star Wars lore, all of the Star Wars movie, at the end of the day, how does that movie make me feel? And at the end of the day, for me personally, although it's fantastic production in terms of the visuals, looks great, all this stuff, to me there's just so much, how do I say this? There's just so many elements that I didn't like about the story. For instance, Luke, right? I love Luke, and I feel like they completely betrayed his character. I feel like there's an entire huge chunk of the movie in Can't Bite that shouldn't have been there, and it was just kind of like literally pointless. They had this whole story arc where they have to go find that gambler dude, but yet then it amounted to nothing. At the end of the day, it looks nice, but just for me personally, I think the story makes me a little more frustrated after watching it. So what is your number 10?
My number 10 is Solo.
Interesting. Okay.
For me, it's Solo always feels like it's a fan film.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
Something about it just doesn't feel like it's really in the Star Wars universe sometimes when you watch it. And
yeah.
It's just missing something about that Star Wars magic. For some reason, it's just not there for me.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie. It's an enjoyable movie, in my opinion, but it's missing something there. And of course, there are neat things to it, and of course, Darth Maul's cameo was really cool, stuff like that. But for the most part, it was missing that. And honestly, I mean, I almost put this as my bottom one. Like it's pretty similar. Truthfully,
I understand that. Yeah.
And honestly, my next one's kind of they could all be tied.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of our bottom ones could be interchangeable.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So number 9. Go ahead and start off with it.
My number 9 is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Any quick explanation on that, or just
for me? The reason I placed it above the ones I just talked about is it has so many cool moments that I love. Now, like you were saying, I agree that like the movie as a whole is not that well made.
Right.
A lot of bad acting, a lot of just weird stuff, and a lot of wasted time. But I love the scene when all the Jedi pour into the battlefield,
and that's why it was hard for me to put at the bottom, because I love that too.
And it was such a huge moment because we'd never seen that many Jedi all at once before. That was the first time we got that like that, and it was so cool. And then seeing the clones and Obi-Wan versus Jango, and there's just so many moments. And Yoda versus Dooku.
Oh yeah,
all those things together. So many hype moments. Like that's the thing. It's the movie as a whole isn't necessarily all that great, but there's so many hype moments in that movie that for me places it above Solo in Episode 1.
Okay. Yeah, I got you on that. And I and that's why I think like part of me wants to place Attack of the Clones a little bit higher on the ranking, but it's hard for me to replace it with something else. I don't know. So but yeah, especially that final battle, or not the final battle, but where they're having to fight for their lives against those 3 beasts. So good. Yeah. I love that.
So what's yours?
So number 9 is for me Solo. So it's kind of like right there. Yeah. Much of the same reason for you. And again, my bottom 3 could be kind of interchangeable. It does kind of lack that Star Wars feel in a lot of times, but I like the story enough that, and I told you, I think I've said this on the podcast before, I really like Han Solo as a character. It's not my favorite character, but I do love Han Solo, and I think I thought it was really cool to get his backstory. And I don't know, I don't have much to say about this. It's definitely my bottom 3. Because it lacks that feel, but the production was good. I just enjoyed watching it, although it did kind of lack a lot of that Star Wars feel. So
okay,
all right. So number 8, I'll go first.
What is your number 8?
My number 8 is Phantom Menace, Episode 1.
All right, so our bottom half is pretty close. You placed 1 a lot higher than I did, but.
Phantom Menace for me is, and I'm not going to give too much explanation because we need to hurry, but the Phantom Menace for me is just so, I know there is a lot of boring parts to it, and there's a lot of like politics and stuff, but to me it just sets up everything to come, and we get to see these awesome new characters for the first time, such as Jar Jar Binks. No, that's actually sorry, but for me that's one of the worst parts about it. But like get to see young Obi-Wan, get to see Anakin for the first time, and we get to see first of all Darth Maul, the introduction of Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon being one of my favorite characters ever. Yeah. I mean, I think there's just too much for me to place it any lower than that, especially with the Duel of the Fates, one of the greatest soundtracks on the soundtrack. So that is my number 8. Andrew, what is your number 8?
My number 8 is The Last Jedi.
Okay. So yeah, we are very similar. I see why you said that now.
The Last Jedi upset me in a lot of ways. It still upsets me in a lot of ways. But the only reason I placed it higher than the others in this is I can't deny the fact that it's still a well-made movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is a very well-made movie. Despite the story content that I'm not a big fan of, and comparison to the other movies on my list so far,
far none.
As far as just directed and performed and visually and all of that stuff, it's on a higher level than those.
Yeah.
So that is why it's placed where it is. Yeah. But I still do not like this story.
Right. Yeah, and again, my bottom four thus far has been very interchangeable, and I agree with everything that you're saying. I think for me, I have no qualms in saying that it is infinitely better than Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones in terms of production.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's kind of solely based off how do I feel at the end of it.
Well, I think what's interesting is we have now said all the same movies, just in different orders.
Yeah, and we've all said like, oh, it's interchangeable. So it's basically kind of the same thing, honestly.
So we're on the same page so far.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. All right, so
that'd be
number seven.
Number 7.
You
right?
start off. Yep, number 7.
Make sure I have this right. Yeah, my number 7 is The Rise of Skywalker.
Mine too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Again, we have not talked about this at all.
I know a lot of people would argue Rise of Skywalker is worse than Last Jedi.
Sorry, guys.
For me, I place The Rise of Skywalker above The Last Jedi because I still think there's a lot of just stuff that didn't need to be in the movie. And,
yeah, exactly.
And I still have a lot of issues with it, but it brought back Palpatine, and I do like that Palpatine came back. I wish there had been more to it, but I do like that he was there for the final movie of the saga.
Yeah, I agree.
I do like that they tried to answer some questions. I mean, even if you don't necessarily like the answers
right?
I do like that they tried to resolve some things. It's the conclusion. And I just think, as a whole, I enjoy watching it more than I enjoy watching The Last Jedi.
So I'm on the pretty much the same page as you. I will say there was a lot of unfulfilled expectations in the Rise of Skywalker. That's why it's so low.
That's putting it lightly.
Right, for sure. And here's what I'll say. There's a lot of unmet expectations, but I think the problem is that, and we've talked about this a billion times, and I think anybody would agree, whether you think Last Jedi is the best one, right, is that there was too much chaotic, tumultuous stuff going on in those 3 movies, right, 7, 8, and 9, that like it was almost like the 2 directors that we had were fighting with one another on the direction. And because of that, it torn it to different directions that was hard to tie up the loose ends. Mm-hmm. And so the reason for me that Rise of Skywalker is on my number 7 and it's higher than Last Jedi simply because it's phenomenal production, looks great, and there's a lot of disappointing things, but at the end of the day, I think I felt better after watching it because it was the conclusion. They tried to make it more triumphant. They tried to make it better, so it's naturally going to make you feel a little bit better. But to me, Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi are very close, but again, at the end of the day, I think Rise of Skywalker just takes the edge because it helps. It just makes me feel a little bit better after watching. I enjoyed it a little bit more, and it didn't contradict as many things in my mind about the Star Wars lore and character.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so number 6, and this is me starting off. My number 6 is Force Awakens.
Okay.
Basically, kind of the same thing. This is what I've always said. Although you can argue Force Awakens creativity, I guess how you want to say it, I don't know, but I will always say that Force Awakens started off the sequel trilogy really well. They had a lot of had some familiar callbacks. They had some new interesting things that were being added, and it was a good foundation to work off of. It was kind of boring in some parts, maybe predictable, but the production value is fantastic. I think they started off in a good way, this very ominous new character, all the stuff, right? And it had a great foundation, and there wasn't as many inconsistencies or letdowns in the other 2 movies, and that's why it's higher for me.
Okay.
So what is your number 6?
My number 6 is Rogue One.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so let me say this. From 6 on, I adored all of these movies.
Yeah,
like
right.
It's hard to even. I mean, these are all just fantastic movies from this point on, in my opinion. So Rogue One is a fantastic movie. It's a gritty war movie, right? And, And what I love about Rogue One is that it brought you in. It felt like you were back in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
They like how I said Solo didn't have the magic. this movie has the magic.
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
And I don't know exactly what it is, but they just created that magic there. It feels so in line with the Star Wars universe, so in line with the original trilogy that like I think it'd be a tragedy for you not to watch this movie before you start A New Hope. Like it just works.
I agree.
Works together.
And it fits so seamlessly with the end scene to the first scene of The New Hope that it's like, oh, you almost can't not, right?
Right. It is a extremely amazing complementary piece to the original trilogy. I love it.
Yeah.
The reason it's number 6 is because it's missing one thing that I love about Star Wars, and that's the Jedi.
Sure.
This is that one movie that doesn't really involve Jedi. It's not really. I mean, you have the one guy. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he deals with the Force or whatever.
Oh,
but
He's of the Church of the Force or whatever it's called.
Guardians of the Wills or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, in the end, it's not really a Jedi in the movie.
Sure.
Other than you have Darth Vader at the end, which is amazing.
That's
one of the most amazing
scene.
scenes in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have that, and I just love Jedi. I love that, and so that's why it's number 6. But it's an amazing movie.
Yeah. So let's go into our number 5. You start off.
My number 5. This one could upset people.
Okay. So I think number 5.
I think this could be a little upsetting for people. That this is my number 5, but my number 5 is Return of the Jedi.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I used to have Return of the Jedi much higher in my list when I just when I've ranked it before. But in the past year, I rewatched Return of the Jedi, and I realized that I don't think it's that great of a movie sometimes. Like, it spends a lot of time with the Ewoks, and
it does.
It spends a lot of time in just kind of like not doing anything. And I found myself like, wow, there's a lot of boring parts to this movie. And now, of course, like the final fight scene with Darth Vader and Palpatine and Luke is amazing.
Yeah,
I love that. It is the moment of the trilogy,
Sure.
Like, and so all of that's important. But there's so much of that movie that just doesn't matter, and it's just like wasting time. And I found myself thinking like, wow, the rest of the trilogy is so much better than this movie.
Yeah.
And so that's why I put it at 5.
Okay. So my number 5 is very hotly contested in my own mind with number 6, which is interesting. Is Rogue One.
Okay.
So number 5 is Rogue One for me. Everything that you said, I think it keeps the Star Wars magic even without the Jedi. And although we love Jedi, and that's the whole reason we named it Jedi Eternal, I think I think it's so necessary and so fitting for the plot going into Episode 4 that it even though it doesn't have Jedi, it gives itself its own merit, and I really, really enjoyed watching it. It was a new take, how do I say this? It was a new take of the Star Wars universe, especially up to that point. Before, Solo, we're getting to see the underbelly. We're getting to see people who's not necessarily Jedi, but they're the rebellion. It's gritty. It's kind of darker and grayer and harsher and that kind of strays away from Star Wars a little bit from what we know it, but yet it somehow kept, again, like you said, that Star Wars feel. It wasn't perfect, and we already knew the end result, so that's why it's not higher for me. And plus, it doesn't have Jedi and things of that nature too. But I really did enjoy number 5. I really did enjoy Rogue One.
Yeah.
So, all right. So number 4. Number 4 for me, I'm starting off, is Return of the Jedi. So we're hanging pretty close still. Yeah.
Okay.
All the same thing that you said. I think that there's just, it's so triumphant for me. It's so fun. It's so exciting, and we can see Luke come in and be this kick butt dude that we he's been training. You can tell, and he's something new, and he's grown so much. And you get to see that progression, which is really cool. You get to see him go conquer Jabba the Hutt and all that awesome stuff that you get to see there. I love the battle between Vader and Luke, and then Vader's triumphant return and to the light side, and Palpatine's destruction, Death Star's destruction. And and then I can't help, although the Ewoks are a little cringy at times, I do love the celebration scene at the end, and then all the Force ghosts come together. Like, I mean, it's just so triumphant. Now, you're right, it's not as good as some of the other ones, and that's why it's number 4 for me. But I'm not going to take too much more time for that because you already explained a lot of stuff on that I agree with. So yeah. Number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me is The Force Awakens.
Wow, so that's a lot higher than I would have expected it to be.
Yeah, just like I said with Return of the Jedi, I kind of watched all the movies in the past year, 2 years. I've kind of watched them again and really thought about them. And The Force Awakens was, in my opinion, a really good start to a trilogy.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. It created a lot of mystery. It had Rey, who was an excellent new main character.
Yeah.
It had Snoke, who was this menacing new villain we didn't know anything about. Yeah. And there was so much potential. There was just J.J. Abrams started it with a lot of mystery and a lot of potential. Now, you could say, well, the story kind of just kind of did a rehash of A New Hope. Yeah. In ways it did, yes. Yeah. And I see that and can recognize that maybe it would have been cooler to do something a little more original.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think it worked. I think it worked to kind of mimic that and for a new age. But the problem, of course, is that it then fell apart after that. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoy watching The Force Awakens. And you get that touch of the old with Leia and Han and Chewie back on the Millennium Falcon, and those moments were so cool. And and I waited outside or you and me both, dressed up in Jedi robes, ready, waiting outside in the freezing cold in line to get into this theater because the line was outside of the building, and it was. I'm not going to lie. Part of this is nostalgia for me. The fact that was such a fun moment that Star Wars had returned again when we thought it never would, Right. And here we were going to go see a new movie, and it was an enjoyable movie. We left that movie stoked.
Oh yeah,
we left that movie excited about the future of Star Wars and where it would go.
Yeah,
and.
I was gonna say, just to add into that, I know this is your thing, but I remember I actually got a post the other day on Facebook, or like a reminder, like a memory, and it said it was back in December whenever we watched it. It was a couple years ago, and it said something along the lines of, just watched Force Awakens. The best credit I could give to it is that it pays homage very well to the original trilogy. Yeah, and I felt that same way. I still do now, for sure. Yeah,
and so. Since we're looking at these individually, that's why it ranks as high as it does, because I do think it's a good Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it, and I think it deserves a little more credit than it gets.
I agree.
But because of the way the trilogy turned out, it's kind of...
It gets thrown on the bus with all of it. Yeah.
But so that's my feelings on it.
Sure. Absolutely.
But I guess we're moving into our number 3, right?
Yep. I'm interested to see this. I want to say that our top 3 are the same. I don't know that for a fact, though.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're looking at me. I think I know what you're going to say, and I think it is different than me, but we'll see.
I don't know.
So number 3, starting with you.
My number 3 is Revenge of the Sith.
Really? I was not expecting that. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Revenge of the Sith is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
The amount of time that we have spent thinking and playing and of the events of Revenge of the Sith, I can't even tell you how many hours we've spent on it.
Oh yeah,
that movie was life changing I think I can say for both of us.
Sure, absolutely.
It was, of course, seeing Obi-Wan and Anakin, and what happens there. And we had already grown to love those characters because those were the new ones when we were growing up. I wasn't allowed to go to a theater when I was young. I was not allowed to go and watch a movie at a theater. Yeah. And I remember Revenge of the Sith coming out in theaters and wanting to go see it so bad, but I wasn't allowed to. And I had to wait until it got released on DVD. And I remember going and getting it, renting it from Blockbuster with my grandma, and me and my grandma went because she was a huge Star Wars fan. She's one of the reasons I love Star Wars today. Yeah. And we went and sat down and watched that movie together, and it's a moment I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And it was such an impactful moment. I'm about to cry right now just talking about it. I'm not even kidding. Like blinking the tears away. And so just that movie means so much to me, and just nostalgia. But also now I can see the clear ways this movie is not that great.
Sure,
like if you and me were to go watch the movie for the first time today, we'd go, oh wow, like
seriously,
like,
that's where they took this, or that's
But a lot of this is because I grew up with it, and that's why I love it. And a lot of it, even if some of it is cheesy, some of it doesn't really work as well today, it still means so much to me.
Yeah.
And that's why it's at 3, is because I can see the aging of it. I can see where it doesn't necessarily as amazing as it may have been back then. But to me, it still means so much.
Yeah. So I completely agree with you on all this. And I'll say too, with my top 3, like the difference between what makes 1, 2, and 3 is like a micro, you need a micrometer to measure that scale. Like a nanometer is what,
well, just like the bottom, like 3 or 4 were kind of all similar, like all like maybe even tied.
Yeah.
My top 3 are essentially kind of the same way.
Same here. So my number 3 is A New Hope.
Okay.
I think that with the other 2 that's left, I enjoyed them. I think I enjoyed them because of all the stuff that happened in them more. But again, A New Hope for me is it's just so pivotal. I mean, like, this is the first movie that set up the entire thing, and it was so fresh and new, especially at the time that it was made. But to me, when I first watched it, I hadn't seen anything like that up to that point, and it was just so cool. It just set up so many neat things, and then ending with going from a kid on some backwater town and country and planet, to all of a sudden the end, like blowing up a Death Star. Like, it's just. The progression was so awesome. It's super hopeful. A New Hope, clearly. Introduced all these super cool characters. And, I'm never going to forget that first time I saw Luke looking at the twin suns. And it, like that warmth of emotion and like just happiness and like just wow, sheer awe that I saw in New Hope. That's why it's number 3 for me. For me, though, I think the events of the next 2 were more impactful to me. I think New Hope for me was just more like this was an introduction. It was a foundation. It was so cool. But yet the events of the next 2 were more left me watching the movie like, oh my gosh, this was insane, incredible, the twist, the blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that is my number 3. So A New Hope.
So what is your number 2?
Number 2. So this is gonna be interesting. What ours is? I mean, I think everybody. I'd like to think that everybody knows what my number 1 is. But number 2 for me is Revenge of the Sith. Everything that you said. Revenge of the Sith was such a pivotal moment, and it was clearly the best, most well produced out of the prequel trilogy. Clearly, we get to see my favorite character and your favorite character, Obi-Wan, in his prime. I mean, that's one of the big things for me. Get to see the duel,
the best version of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
The best, for sure. You could see the great duel between Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Dooku, which was fantastic. And then to see his descent, or Anakin's descent into the dark side, was because here's the thing. It may not make me feel happy at the end of the movie, but it was like so jaw-dropping and so crazy that it was just like, pardon me, I'm getting a little hiccups here. But anyway, it was so, the events of it were so heart-wrenching and jaw-dropping and crazy. It went from such triumphant highs to such low lows, and it was just so crazy. I mean, I don't have too much more to say about it, but that's why Revenge of the Sith is my number 2. But Drew, what is your number 2? My
number 2 is A New Hope.
Okay.
So,
gotcha.
I'm not going to say a whole lot because you already just said a bunch about it, but for me, it is the beginning of it all. And and sure, we weren't even born yet, but like,
right.
But we still watched it when we were young,
exactly,
many years ago. And it's a classic, and I just anytime I watch it, it just gives me such a happy feeling.
Exactly.
And it's not a boring movie. It's a good movie all the way through. It holds up even today. I mean, now of course, like with the CGI, that kind of stuff, like of course,
right.
Which of course George Lucas has like added in some CGI and stuff, but like it's rough in those terms, but like it's still such a good story. It's still such a good beginning to a story. And
to me, like I could say you would agree with me that to me, a story and how it makes me feel or what it makes me think about or whatever at the end of the movie is more important than the effects.
Oh yeah,
because you could have a phenomenally well produced movie in terms of effects, so awesome to watch, and all these flashing colors and bright lights and fine details and high resolution. But if the story is lacking or it makes you like, why, then that's why some of those other ones that are so well produced rank so low for me.
Well, and that's why Star Wars still works so well today. Is like it's about the journey and the story and the characters that makes we can still be so involved in it and care about it so much, even though everything in the movie is outdated. Sure, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And you can still get into it and enjoy it. And
I agree.
And only a story very well told can do that.
Yeah.
And not make you sit there and go, oh wow, this is really. I mean, you can show. And now, granted, there's going to be some people out there go, oh, this movie's old, I want to watch it. But you can get some people to go, hey, watch this really old movie. And I'm like, why would you watch a really old movie? And just watch it. And you'll see like, wow, I actually enjoyed it. I don't know how many times I've seen people go through that scenario with starting Star Wars at a later age and still finding out that it's actually worth the time.
Sure, absolutely.
So we're going to go ahead and do our number one, but clearly it's the same thing. And everyone's going to probably realize what it is. It's The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah.
That is our number one.
I mean, it just makes me, I smile just thinking about it. Like, I love the movie so much, man.
That I just watched, of course, like I was saying, I watched them all again recently to have them all fresh in my mind. And it only has solidified the fact to me that The Empire Strikes Back is the greatest Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Yes.
Not only just a Star Wars movie, it's just a great movie.
It's one of the greatest sequels that was ever made.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a sequel. How many sequels are better than the originals? A lot of times that's not the case. Few. But like, this is such an amazing movie.
Yeah.
So well told. So it's you can watch it today and think like, this is just so well written. So just everything about it is hard to even to put it into words.
Precisely. Yeah.
I love this movie, and I honestly I really don't think anything's ever going to top it for me. And we'll see.
Yeah.
I guess the Kenobi series might end up.
It could. I mean, it's going to be a little bit different because it's not a movie.
We're not doing TV, but if we were, Kenobi might eventually top it. But we'll see.
No, I'm on the same page as you, man. I mean, it's so difficult to take something that was already well established, well liked, and then just make it even bigger, better, change it to something that makes it even crazier. It took like the innocence of A New Hope and then brought it crashing down to this bare bones warlike feeling in the very first scenes, right? In Empire Strikes Back, and it brings this brevity and maturity and reality to the movie and to the lore at that point. And of course we can't, I mean, listen, one of the biggest things in the whole world that's still happening to this day is the crazy twist that Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Oh yeah.
Like that is the biggest, craziest things because we can overlook that because we know it so well at this point. But I love watching videos on YouTube, stuff like that, where parents are showing their kids for the first time this huge twist, and they're like, these little kids, it's keeping their attention, and they're like, oh, no way, it's his dad, oh my god,
And I think for me, one of the things about this story, and I think it has changed the stories all over, is the fact that they went and told a dark story. Yeah. The first movie, of course, was a triumphant ending, happy and everything. But the second movie ends, the heroes have lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've completely lost.
Absolutely.
Luke tried to fight Darth Vader and lost.
Yeah.
He lost his hand, almost died.
Yeah.
Han has been taken. He's in carbonite. He's gone. And that's how the movie ends. And
exactly.
It's very rare that you get a movie that does that.
Okay, this is completely off topic. Well, it's not off topic, but it's off the universe. But a fantastic example of that is not in
Avengers Infinity
War. Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, when they left it like that, my jaw was on the floor.
Right.
And everybody's was. Yeah. And I think it worked super well. And that's the same feeling, the same thing, the same formula that was used originally in Empire Strikes Back.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
And it works very well.
It works very well.
And that's why a lot of people's favorite Avengers movie is Infinity Gauntlet. Because the same
Infinity
reason.
War, yeah.
Or whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about. This is Jedi Eternal, not Marvel Eternal, whatever.
We should. I think we should do a sub channel where we talk about the MCU stuff because we have a lot of. We have a lot to say about MCU things as well.
We do. We're very passionate about that as well. It's not as maybe adamant.
But anyways, going back to that, yeah, it was one of those things that you just don't see very often. That there's this age old thing of you need to end the story happy or people won't like it or they'll be upset, blah blah blah. But they had the guts to do this to end it in that, and then made people wait for a year or 2 years. I don't remember the exact amount of years,
but
they made them wait for a while.
Yeah,
and we thought it was bad to wait a year for between Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, can you imagine people foaming at the mouth like, oh my gosh, what? Yeah,
and so it's it's affected things from ever since.
Yeah,
it affected movies ever since.
Well, they took an industry standard and completely flipped it on its head. It changed, like you said, it changed how movies were made.
Yeah, I think to this day, you talk to a director and they'll probably tell you an inspiration to them is the movie The Empire Strikes Back for sure, for many different reasons. It's just one of those movies that will forever be a classic that is highly revered.
Yeah,
and I love it. And so that's my number one. That's
my
your number one.
I
have to say our lists were actually
fairly
close.
But they had some upsets here and there.
There was some differences, but usually our differences weren't they were still close in number.
There's always at least in two spots away from each other. Almost everything we've done.
Yeah, so, I think so. Yeah, we didn't have anything that was mine was on the bottom, yours was on the top type deal.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have to. If you guys are listening to this before, which I don't even know if that's possible, but if it is possible, when we do the live, you can throw up your rankings. We'd like to see those.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that regardless. So, like I said, hopefully there's some people there. But if not, if you don't get to do that, we would still love to hear you. Send us a message, and we might talk about it on the next episode, or maybe put it in a comment. We'd still love to hear what your guys' rankings are.
For sure. Yeah, but we're going to go ahead and close this out. We still have a lot to do to get prepared for our live show. But just, again, to let you guys all know, we're doing a live celebration. We're just hanging out with you guys, having some fun. We'll be talking, of course, about Star Wars, if you didn't know.
Naturally.
And celebrating our 1-year anniversary. So if you want to join with us, that's at 5 o'clock. We'll be doing that. You most likely have probably already watched that, and now you're listening to this. But I just do want to throw that out there in case you somehow have gotten to this point before the live video. But we want to thank everyone so much for the continued support towards the podcast. Thank you so much for this past year. It means the world to us that you have been a part of this with us, and we're looking forward to a whole another year of Star Wars. And we're going to be doing so much this year. We have so much planned. It's going to be fun.
I'm super excited.
Please like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for weekly news, polls, discussions, and more. Please also follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and leave a review. And be looking out for our merch store, which will be popping soon. We'll have links on Facebook for you to join up on that and check that out. We would love for your support there. We thank you for listening. And join us next week for episode 48.
Wow.
But until next time, may the Force be with you, and we thank you for joining the Jedi Eternal.